Right, dear student, today's our topic is the economic models. So we are discussing in this short video about the economic models. So in economics, we are using these economic models to explain the economic events. Right? So what is called the economic events? Economic events mean the relationship between the economic variables. Right? To show the relationship between economic variables, that means economic events, we are using economic models. Right? So in economics, there are two main popular models are used to explain the economic event in a simple manner. So they are graphs and the equations. So in economics, graph and equations are used to explain the economic events. That means the relationship between the economic variables. Right. Before we are discussing about the economic variables, we should identify the meaning of the term variable. Variable. Later we will discuss the meaning of economic variable after the discussion of variable. Variables mean what? Variable means something which is subject to change. Something which is subject to change, we call it a variable. And another characteristic should be there. That is, the change should be measured quantitatively. So if these two characteristics are fulfilled, then you call it a variable. First one is, it is subject to change, and that change should be measured quantitatively. To take some example, your age, your weight, your height, yes, it is changed from time to time, as well as that change should be able to measured quantitatively. So those two characteristics are met in the example I mentioned. So we can call them as variables. The next one is, we want to understand the meaning of economic variables. What is that? Economic variable. Economic variables means, now things are subject to different changes in the economy. Things are subject to different changes in the economy, and those changes should be measured quantitatively. So these variables are in the economic environment, and they are subject to change, and those changes should be measured quantitatively. So if these two characteristics are met, then you call it the economic variable. You call it the economic variable. Think about different matters. Different matters which are subject to change in the economy we live. The different economic matters which are subject to change in the economy we live. Here you are given some examples. Price of goods we'll take some example. Price of coconut, price of dal, price of rice. Yes, it is subject to change, and that change also can be measured, right? So accordingly we can conclude whether the price has been increased or decreased. Right. The next one, another example you are given, interest rate. So interest rate mean the interest given to the deposits and the interest charged from loans. So now, right now these days, interest rate given for deposits, right, is about 25%. That is for the fixed deposit, and the right interest charge from the loans is about 30%. So right, it is subject to change, right, and we can measure the change. Right. Another concept is foreign exchange rate. So foreign exchange rates means simply the price of a dollar, right? Price of a dollar in terms of Sri Lankan rupees, right? A few days ago, the price of a dollar was 370 rupees. Now it has decreased up to 335 Sri Lankan rupees. So that means it is subject to change, and that change also can be measured quantitatively. Right. Another concept. So demand and supply. Now let's take this example. So during COVID-19 pandemic period, right? So demand for mask and sanitizer have been increased. Right? Then what happened? The supply also increased. Right? Then the next one. Right? GDP. GDP means what? GDP means the total value of goods and services produced in an economy. Right? Total value of goods and services produced in an economy. So right? So that value also change from time to time, and it is also can be measured. So those are some examples I mentioned for economic variables. Right? These are economic matters which are subject to change in the economy, right, we live. Right? And the example, right, previously I mentioned, right, your age, your weight, your height. So they are not economic variables, right? They are variables. So economic variable means, right, the things that are subject to different changes in the economy we live. So in the scope of economics, we are measuring the changes quantitatively by using these graphs and the equation to understand the economic events. So right, in the next video, I will be discussing with you the two types of variables. They are dependent variable and the independent variable. So until then, have a nice day.